Hello, welcome back to my YouTube channel, where today I will be reviewing this, a Hornby LNER class B12. But before we get into that, I'd like to thank you all for 1,000 views on the Hornby 4MT video. That's quite a lot, more than usual. Anyway, time to get into the review. So, this B12 is the most expensive model train I've ever bought at $380. Now that's a lot, but anyway, we will see if it's worth it. So there's the standard Hornby packaging, as you can see, and the image on the front, which doesn't look too bad, because in the past I've had a few that aren't too great. The Peckett B2, I think. Okay, now there is that logo. It's DCC ready, and the minimum radius says it is second. Product code's also on that if you want it. There is the history on the model. You can read that if you want to. And a diagram. Now this says date drawn 2015, so it's 7 years old now, the tooling. And we can see it was classed as a 4P3F mixed traffic locomotive by British Rail. Mixed traffic in a locomotive this beautiful. Surprising. And yes, I have had this out of its box before I am doing this unboxing. Okay, so there's the outer sleeve off. And here we can see the model. It's rather beautiful, as you can see. And the image on the front doesn't actually do it justice. Like, it seems to me that it's a bit lighter in colour, don't you think? Yeah, anyway. There we go. It's a far cry from my old Flying Scotsman. Okay, so there's the model, which we shall put to one side, and have a look at these. So that's just something to do with fitting the front guard irons. And the instructions, now this will just be a standard instructions, I should think. Yeah, operating, maintenance, running in, running hints. Lubrication, how to remove the body. Bit on television, suppression, spare parts. You may need with Hornby's current quality. Okay, now to the model. We shall get the outer sleeve off. There we go. You can see it there. And here's the detail pack. Now, I'm not sure what happened there, because I haven't actually opened the detail pack, and I haven't fitted any of the details, but somehow it's ripped. I don't know how that happened. And yes, I have had this out before, but I can't remember what it was like when I opened it for the first time, so... And there she is. I haven't commented on the weight yet, and this... Also, another thing, a small piece of the packaging came loose, but I guess that's not really a big deal. It's happened to me before. Oh, ice brick didn't fly away. And this model is really quite heavy. And look at that. And there goes the small piece of foam. And there you go. Okay, now that the locomotive is unboxed, we shall get into the detail. Now we can see the builder's plate there. And this locomotive does indeed have sprung buffers. It's fitted with NEM couplings. The rear is fitted from factory, but the fronts are not. And we can see in here the valve gear has been beautifully painted out in the red, and that just absolutely makes the model for me. It's beautiful. Now the handrails are very well put together. very well attached and are not flimsy in the slightest. I think they may be made of metal. Now the boiler on this is made of metal, 100%. Not so sure about the running board, but the boiler definitely is made of metal. Now the coal load, I assume, is removable, and this locomotive does have an opening cab vent, and mine is very stiff. Here we can see the Westinghouse brake pump and the reversing rod, which is not made of metal, it's made of plastic, and the finish is okay. Now, also here on the front, we can see a bit more of the lining, the red lining, not being so well put down. Still very good, but I mean, I paid $380, which is a lot of money. And there's more on the tender on this side as well. Now, the cab is painted, and you can see the separately fitted, or I think it's separately fitted, regulator, and the valves are also protruding from the cab wall. The whistles and safety valves don't appear to be made of metal, or they are and have had a paint put on them. But either way, they look pretty decent. And up front, we have a separately fitted smoke box start and the running number down below on the buffer beam, which is also lined out in white. Speaking of the lining, there is the 3 tricolour lining, and there is a deliberate parting line on the top, which has rivets along it, so that's okay. And it is pretty closely coupled, so I'd say this locomotive is pretty good on the detail, especially when you consider that the wheels are painted, the whole thing's lined out in red, and the beautiful, beautiful proper LNER font. Now, this is a far cry from my Railroad Flying Scotsman, which is the only other LNER liveried locomotive I own, and it's so much better. It just shows the difference between railways and railroad. Okay, this locomotive is now down onto the track and ready for a DC controlled demonstration. Now, I have known that these B12s have had quite a bad run as of recent. There was a version on sale at Hatton's for quite a low price, but they had dodgy motors in them, and to my knowledge, it was quite bad. The motors failed, but I haven't had such issues with mine. I've run mine in, and I've run it quite a bit after running in, and I've not really had any issues. I've not had any issues with it running, apart from the fact that my power connector clips on this track aren't very good. But anyway, this locomotive can demonstrate a amazing crawl, which you will be seeing now. And this locomotive is run-in. Turning it up, and you can see that is moving very smoothly as well. Bit of cogging. Yeah, there you go. Not perfectly. But anyway, this locomotive can do a amazing crawl. In terms of power, I haven't really tested this locomotive out power-wise yet, but I'd imagine it can quite easily haul 6 to 8 coaches. And you should have seen, when I started it there, the middle wheel did start quite a lot sooner than the others. Okay, so what we'll do now, as a small demonstration on DC, it will back down on these LNER coaches, and I will run it for a little while, show you a little bit of footage from running in, and then I will DCC swap it. I'll tell you how easy it was to take the body off and DCC chip it. I should only have to take the tender body off, so I will still comment on that. And I will do performance on DCC. I will see you when the running montage is over. By that time it will be DCC fitted. Okay, let's get this locomotive moved off onto its train, and while I do that, I'll talk about the mechanism a little bit. Now, these locomotives have pickups on all tender wheels and driving wheels. There are none on the bogie, naturally, being the bogie. It has a 5-pole motor and brass bearings on the axles, the main locomotive driving wheels. Of course that would happen. As you can see, it has indeed stalled, which isn't good. That's not too great, and the points were set correctly. So yes, it did just stop then. So that was over an express point. Said how would it go over express points, and that's how it would go. Now you can't really see it. You see it just moving back there. Okay, now that the B12 is coupled to its train, I'll get it running and I will tell you what I think about it. Okay, so there we are, pulling off nice and smoothly. Also, did forget to mention in the last clip, this does have a flywheel fitted to it as well. Now, this locomotive was quite high quality, apart from those slightly wonky detailing parts. Decoration on the tender frames, once again, did stall on the express point. But overall, I do think this was quite a good engine. It's definitely a good performer. I mean, I did say earlier about poor motors, but I don't think this one got a poor motor. It's run quite well, and as you can see, it's rather quite smooth on DCC and DC operation. It's got a very good slow speed, it's consistent, and it's a strong puller as well. But it does seem to not like the express point up there. It could be dirty, so I might give that a clean at some point and tell you what happened. But can't really think of much else to say about it, really. I mean, the loco itself is now, this locomotive, I think, was quite a high quality one, apart from those wonky decoration parts on the tender frames. The locomotive itself was rather high quality. Nothing fell off, the boiler was made of metal, and it ran really well and really consistently. Also, I did forget to mention that it has a flywheel fitted. Doesn't seem to like the express point very much though, so But as I said, the boiler's made of metal, so it's quite a powerful locomotive as well, quite useful. The LNER font was quite nice, and so was the finish. So I reckon this locomotive was quite a good purchase, albeit rather expensive at $380 or thereabout dollars. And it does keep stopping on that express point. So what I'll do is I'll give that express point a clean, and we'll see how it runs over that. Okay, I've now given this express point a good clean with the track rubber, so we'll see if it goes over. It's stalled and it's not gone on. Wow, that's not too great. Are the tender wheels on? Yes, they are. All wheels are on the track. So, I'm not really sure what to say about that. I mean, my pickups could need adjusting, I don't know, but I didn't do that because this is a review. Anyway, so that's the performance on the engine, and my opinion. So I'll leave it at that. You can make up your mind whether you want to buy a B12, but do be wary about the dodgy motors. Hornby have had a bit of a run with them at the moment. But I'm sure that the B12, if you get a good one, will be quite good. So, thanks for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.